In this episode of Auction Walk, Mike and I are at the 2023 Mecum auction in Kissimmee, Florida. We will check out some cool cars and trucks, guess the hammer price, and see how we did at the end. Welcome to Auction Walk. Today we have three cars. They're pretty good. We have a 50s car, we have a 2000s car, and we have a 60s car.
Yeah, essentially all-American interest cars, muscle cars, performance cars. Yeah.
By the way, I'm Tony. This is Mike.
I'm Mike.
Now we have a 1955 BelAir Custom. Beautiful car.
I love it.
1955 Chevrolet BelAir Custom, and it is custom. 454 says that's 450 horsepower.
This was a full frame-off restoration in 2020, so this is a couple years old.
This is nice.
It probably took them a year and a half to do this if they were going on it. So I'm looking at this thing, and I
love the side exhaust.
It is awesome. The trim, they retained some of the trim, all of the trim actually. So they didn't shave the trim. Okay, and this is a sedan, a two-door sedan, right?
I mean, if it wasn't for the wheels and the side exhaust,
it looks right.
It looks.
They kept it vintage.
Pretty original, yeah. Right? And I like that.
But it's like a vintage resto mod, right?
I love it.
So we've got these big old. These have got to be 22s. No, these are 20s, 20-inch wheels, and it is tucked, boy.
Let's look at the interior. Okay.
Wow.
I'm not a fan of the fabric they chose.
Right. So this is pretty.
I feel like this is my outdoor furniture or something.
It is. It looks like grandma's couch actually.
Yes.
The material itself.
But
it's. I think they were trying to say, look at me. This is vintage, but this is modern vintage, right?
But I
love the trim.
I love the colors. I love how they modernized the dash, but kept it original.
I mean, they've got a touch screen 8-inch.
Whatever that is, I'm not sure.
Probably with navigation.
They have the stereo up there.
It's got some pretty good legroom. I like this car. I would drive this car.
Here. Maybe that screen is for a rear view camera. Interior wise, I'm giving this oh man, if it wasn't for the fabric, I'd give it a 10.
Okay, take a look at this.
Before we do what's the interior? What are you giving in the interior?
I'm giving the interior.
If it wasn't for the fabric, I'd give it a 10.
Right. I was going to say this is a 9.
Okay. I'm gonna give it an 8 because that fabric's kind of bothering me.
Well, take a look at this. This is really tastefully done. So this is just a standard carbureted big block V8, 450 horsepower. You could have a lot of fun in this car. It's not over the top. It's not in the 500 horsepower club. But that's okay. For a car like this, you're cruising and you're taking your family to ice cream.
You're going to the show.
You're going to the show.
You can open up this hood.
Absolutely. People are going to ask you a million questions about this. It stands out, right? In a world of Honda Civics, this thing is going to absolutely stand out. The gaps are good. The trim is beautiful. I mean, this is it's all fantastic. I'm going to say this is a 9. I mean, it looks
easily a 9.
It looks fantastic. Color choices.
I think a little more fleck in there. I'd be a 10.
Yeah,
I like fleck
for some reason. Billet hood hinges. Everything's billet under here.
Yes.
The whole pulley carrier system. Everything's high polished. Take a look at that.
It's a little cleaning.
It does. It does. And I got to give it some credit. It might have been transported here. It's been in here. It might have been detailed 5 days ago.
Right. Oh, there's the rear view camera right there.
Oh yeah. So it does. It has a rear view camera.
Okay.
My gosh, these are starting to come back up. They were really expensive in the early 90s.
They came back down because
they're starting to pop.
Well, the people that really enjoyed these they're up in the age.
They are up in the age. However, I'm starting to notice the 60 and overs yesterday were bidding these things up.
Right.
Guys my dad's age.
So what price are you putting
I'm going to
on
say this is $90,000.
Wow.
I saw a 57 Chevy yesterday that was half of this. Go for 45.
What year was it?
57, but it wasn't. It was
right. But
the
57 is
sure,
better.
But 55 is the second most popular year out of the 55, 6, and 7.
What was your guess?
I'm gonna say $90,000. Look at this car.
I just don't know.
Oh man. It is a two-door sedan.
I'm gonna go 80.
80. Okay.
But I think you probably are more right than I am.
The next car that we came across was a 2000 Viper RT10.
Yeah, great red, and we were tempted to buy that one.
Oh yeah, I would have loved it.
260.
Right.
Obviously a 2000 Dodge Viper RT10 Roadster.
Right.
8-liter V10, which makes these awesome.
Well,
450 horsepower.
450 horsepower, and this car is like barely 3,000 pounds. So I remember in 1989 reading about the concept car, right, that Lee Iacocca wanted, which was later it turned into this, right? And I was like 13 years old.
Yes.
And my dream began. And this is really where they got him dialed in. This is really where, to me, this is the epitome. I would say 96 and up, 96 and newer was where, you know, now they've got AC in them, right?
Yeah.
The windows roll up. This is unlike the very
This one
first.
has the hard top, which is fantastic.
I love
I
it.
think.
It's a removable hardtop, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm looking at this thing. It's got 7,000 something miles on it, 7,700 miles.
Yes.
And look at, somebody has loved this car. They've loved it enough to drive it almost 10,000 miles, right? So you're talking shows,
and for a
Alfred ice
Viper,
cream, you know, it's
that's not ultra low.
okay.
It's not high either.
Right.
I like it because you're not spending a bunch of money for a Viper that has 1,000 miles
Right.
on it, and then you can never drive it. This one, you can drive it.
Would you put 500 miles a year on this? 500 happy, loved miles a year on this car if you own this car?
Yeah,
I would too.
You could probably put 1,000 miles on
Right.
it.
Right.
In 10 years, it has 17,000 miles.
Exactly.
It's still very low.
And by then, we're not getting gas anyway. This is in a
Right.
museum. But I'm looking at this thing, and the rubber and the weather stripping is. I mean, this car is effectively. This is a 23-year-old car, and clearly it's been in a very nice parked condition in a garage somewhere. I mean, everything is just. The spark plug wires are they're not freshly detailed. They're just clean. They're not. Everything's clean under here. The casting, everything is. It's not hyper. Somebody hasn't come in here and hired a detailer to go over this thing twice a year. It just looks clean and newish, right? So somebody has owned and taken
The
really good care
interior,
of this.
I like it. It's very clean. Sometimes you get some, discoloration on some of these Vipers. This one's good, and I noticed in the glove compartment here has a bunch of receipts of services.
Right.
That's kind of cool. And the hard time, I have plenty of headroom. You notice on up here has a bubble.
I do.
Bubble top.
I see it.
And
Oh, I see that. You know what?
Yeah.
I thought I knew everything about these cars.
yeah,
I
and
mean, you're pretty tall, Tony. You got a hat on.
almost 6 foot, and I like this. Now I've sat
Right.
in those Cobra kit cars,
Yeah.
Shelby, and unless they're extended, I can't fit in them.
So you're not feeling claustrophobic in this.
Oh no,
Okay.
no.
And you're almost in a prone position in the seat.
Oh yeah, and there's more adjustability.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
I mean, I'm just looking
Let's buy
at this
it.
car. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at this car and I'm thinking, I remember coming here 4 or 5 years ago with you, and these cars were still going pretty darn reasonably, right?
Okay, so what do you think about the paint?
That's a physical crack.
That's a crack.
It's not just in the paint. That's in the material. You see, this whole area is kind of wonky. I think that's been repaired. Look at this. You see it, Tony?
Yeah.
That whole thing doesn't look the same. You always hear about this lower effect down here under the rocker. This whole rocker piece is actually one solid piece from the front hood clip all the way to the rear. This is one piece, right? You always hear. I used to watch them hard testing these cars. These areas right here are kind of prone to kind of falling apart and getting wiggly.
Engine-wise, it looks really good. It does not look. I mean, it looks very stock to me.
Oh, it's definitely, to me, that is stock. There's no cold air anything on this car. It's everything's factory.
Okay, so what are we thinking on the paint? Did we rate the paint?
Honestly, on the paint, I would say the paint is, for what it is, I would say this is a 7 on the paint.
No, I'm going a 5 on the paint
Tell
because
me.
it needs fixed.
Right, with this back piece
And
here.
this is a Viper with 7,000 miles. It should be good. And this needs work.
Oh,
I
agree with that.
And this should be a perfect paint price.
This is, oh man, I think this thing is knocking on it's knocking on six figures, it's not going to hit it.
I don't think so. I don't think you're close.
I think it's going to be $85,000.
Oh no, I think we're at. I'm going 65.
Really? Wow.
I think you're way high on that.
Okay.
Next, we have a 1968 Camaro RS. Had some issues.
Yeah, that was a fun video.
And we were pretty close to the bid. I don't want to spoil it yet, but we'll figure that out at the end.
All right, Mike. A 1968 Camaro. It says it's an RS. T284. Let's read the tag here. It says it has a 402 big block V8 with various performance upgrades. We'll talk about that. 4-speed manual transmission, which is great. This is a rare factory Strato back bench front seat, one of 6,500.
Wow. Okay. So you can clearly see when they're saying detailed, it's painted. So it's a satin paint. There's some undercoating. I'm looking at the rocker panels. The gaps.
Check this out. Right here.
Okay, so some of the trim needs to be tightened up.
Right. Is this door closed or just not closing?
Let's take a
Try
look.
it. Ooh.
Okay, so you see how the glass, notoriously these cars, 67 and 68, it was very hard to adjust the window glass, the carrier of the window glass, okay? This might not all be rolled up all the way. So I'm taking a look here. We noticed that the front door glass wasn't fitting correctly on the weather stripping, which is carried by the rear quarter glass. One thing I'm noticing, I tried to roll up the quarter glass. It's up all the way, and it should be sitting about like that. Look at the movement here. That's where it needs to sit. Just like that.
And you got to take everything off back here to adjust it.
That whole panel comes off.
Yes, so pain in the ass.
It is. Now, there's a few things I do like about this particular car. There's two options for door panels. There was the molded door panel, which is this one piece. Then there was just a cardboard door panel, and I do like that this door panel is the more desirable door panel. This right here, now that I've got it pushed up all the way, the door glass might actually fit better along that weather stripping. I actually don't like the bench seat, not for a Camaro.
It is not comfortable.
Well, these things are notoriously not comfortable. It's low back. It catches you 6 inches below the neck.
Steering wheel is not tilt. I don't know if they came with tilt. Mike, you know if they came with tilt?
I don't believe so. This is not a tilt steering wheel car.
And
it's a pretty typical dashboard for a 68.
As far as I know, there's no radio unless it's invisible, like a Bluetooth invisible, but there's nothing here.
You know, if I were buying this car, I would have those questions, and if I can't find if it's got a radio or not, that's a strike.
Well, if you don't know, you assume it doesn't.
You assume it doesn't.
Stick it on your list for expenses you want to add.
Now that
later.
I've adjusted and just moved the back quarter glass, I'm going to see if the door shuts better on it. Let's see. Ready? It does not. You can still fit your finger.
Right here, dude.
You still fit your finger in there. Well, we didn't touch that, but you've got a hell of a gap here.
Yeah.
So there's some time and some work going into that for sure. I'm going to go ahead and hold that.
The wheels, they look kind of new.
They are new.
I'm not a fan of them.
I'm not a fan of them either.
Definitely the rear tire is bigger. The rim has front discs.
So we have
but not good discs.
Right.
They're okay.
Right. So these look like 11-inch disc brakes. The car is detailed underneath. The paint looks okay. I haven't really looked closely at it.
Well, you noted some stuff in the back.
There is some stuff in the back.
Paint-wise,
I'm looking at trim fit here.
Look at that.
That's obviously hood hit.
Yeah.
Okay. We have trim fit issues like this
everywhere.
Right here. Exactly. It is everywhere. That should be down. Yes. This fender actually should be up slightly to be in line here with a cowl, right? And it's not. It's not like that on the other side. The other side is proper. Take a look at this. This is how that should have fit. See it? So this fender is up where it should be. But now we're carrying a gap off of the A-pillar. So there's definitely some issues here, but the car doesn't look like it's been lowered, right? No. It's actually got too high of a stance for my liking. I'd like it.
Yeah, I do not like the stance.
I like to be able to take my finger and pass it just above the wheel and have the wheel lip just about right here.
Okay, so for the paint, what would you rate it?
I mean,
from 5 feet away, it looks pretty good.
from 5 feet away, you could take this to a cruise in and people would say, hey, nice car.
Cars and coffee, it's fine.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to say it's a 6.
A 6. I'm going to go 7.
Okay.
But when you really look at it, it's a 4.
Right. Well, so fitment and adjustability, missing weather strip,
It's horrible.
trim adjustments are all off.
Yeah.
There is some dust in the clear coat
I mean,
here.
if you were going
It's
to
in
pay
there.
someone to fix all this stuff, it's going to be thousands of dollars. Don't you think?
If I were to buy this car, I know that I would have to cut a $5,000 check pretty quickly just to do trim fitment adjustments, shim up fenders where they need to be, adjust doors, adjust glass. At least a few $1,000. You're just going to count on it. You're going to have to buy. Look at the dings. There's some dings here and there.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I don't like dings like that in eyesight.
Especially right there.
Right there. Exactly.
Every single person.
And I'd like to not be able to stick my finger in.
Yeah, you
the cab.
cannot drive this in the rain.
No, absolutely not. You're getting
gonna get
moisture
wet.
in the car.
Interior-wise, we didn't like the bench. There's no, as far as we can tell,
Right.
no audio at all.
Nope.
I'm giving it a 4.
It
looks okay.
It's not tore up.
It's not tore up.
Exactly. And I would say a 5 on the interior.
Engine-wise, it's
engine-wise,
okay.
Yep. I think that.
I like the big block.
Yep. So
The-
396 and 402 were really kind of.
I like the paint.
They were the same.
I like that they kept the original look of the paint.
Sure. I mean, it's you open the hood. It's a big block. It's a big block Camaro. It's
Has some headers.
It's a 4-speed Camaro. We've got a little corrosion going on here on the positive terminal.
It's like an aluminum radiator.
This is all aftermarket right here. The whole radiator cap right here is all made out of sheet metal. There's nothing wrong with it. It looks cool. I mean, I wouldn't make it a strike. This is definitely not an attempt at an original restoration. So I'm not worried about stuff like this as long as it looks good and it works.
Wow. 1.05
Micron, right? Is that in microns? What is that? Is that just?
This is double the highest I've ever seen.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of material. There's a lot of paint.
0.5.
Okay.
That's my van,
Okay.
which has been painted several times.
Right.
There's something going on in there.
If I were in the market to buy a car like this, and there's going to be a handful of people in there that certainly are,
0.85.
I'm going to say that this car is going to go for $40,000.
Yes. Just because it says it's a Camaro and it has a big
It's
block.
a big block Camaro with a 4-speed.
Right.
It's a $40,000 sale.
It does have a reserve. I don't think it's going to make the reserve.
Probably not. They're
No.
going to say this is 45
Yeah.
in their mind.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I'm going to go 42 on the bid, but I'm predicting a no sell.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, results time.
I'm ready.
We're gonna see how bad or good we did. So first, the 1955 BelAir Custom. So that was a great car, and we were way off.
Well, so these are interesting cars. I remember as a kid in the late '80s, these were fetching huge sums of money.
Yeah.
And then they went down, and then they're back up, and then they're kind of in the middle now.
I think
They're
the
all over the
50s
place.
cars in general are kind of maybe maintaining, or I'm not sure.
The people who would dream to have this car are retiring and living in assisted living. all
Yeah,
the time.
they're tired of
I
fixing
mean,
their cars
exactly,
probably by now.
for sure.
Which we're getting close.
Yeah. A month after I buy my car.
Yeah, exactly. So the bids, the guesses. Your guess was $90,000, if
yeah.
you remember.
Yep.
And my bid was $80,000. And the high bid, it did not sell, was only $67,000.
Well,
We were way off.
yeah, but I mean, again, maybe there was only 1 or 2 people interested in this car at all.
It was a custom, and the thing, but I think we've seen this in the auctions or whatever you're doing.
Right.
The customs, you got to have 2 people that really love your vision of
Absolutely.
this custom
Right.
car, and if you do, it could go sky high.
Absolutely.
If not, it's a no sell.
Right.
So I think they did a smart idea, and having the reserve on this one and not letting it go.
I agree.
So hopefully you were a little closer on your guess than we were. So the next one was a car that we both would love to have someday, a
gosh.
2000 Viper RT10. And Your guess was $85,000. My guess was $65,000. And it sold for $66,000.
Good job. I mean, that's really good.
Yeah, oh yeah. I guess it was $1,000 off.
We'll ignore the fact that I was a mile off.
Yeah, exactly.
But Tony, that was great.
And remember, this one had that little bitty crack on the whatever you want to call it, near the trunk, and so that probably factored in more,
right.
And so it didn't get close to your guess.
I'm sure it detracted a lot for that.
Right. So maybe you needed to account for that more.
Right.
Because they had low miles, but 3 years ago these were $30,000.
I remember
$35,000.
we should have bought one back then.
Yeah. Well, we should have bought every car 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. How about that DeLorean?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. So, and then finally, the 1968 Camaro RS, the blue.
This is my wheelhouse. I love the F bodies.
Yep.
First gen. They're some of my favorite.
You have
cars.
a beautiful '67.
I appreciate that. Yes, I have an
award-winning. Well,
Now,
locally award-winning.
Locally.
But yours is fantastic. This one needed some work.
It did.
Yeah. And so let's review. Your bid was $40,000. Mine was $42,000. We were both for the close.
I think we both concurred that this was going to stall and not sell.
Right. And guess what? $40,000 was the high bid.
I redeemed myself.
Yeah, and it didn't sell.
No.
So we were both right on the money on this one. It didn't sell. There was just too many.
Keep in mind the first gen F-body cars are a pretty stable market.
Yeah.
It doesn't fluctuate a lot and hasn't for a decade.
And there's a selection. When you go to these big muscle car auctions,
that's right.
How many Camaros you're going to have there?
Oh, there's a lot of
Camaros.
A
lot. Corvettes, Camaros, there's going to be a lot of them.
Yeah.
So
there's stability in the market.
The ones that are perfect are going to go really high.
That's right.
The ones that need some adjusting, like this one did, they might struggle a little bit.
That's
and
right.
I think this one struggled, and we both think.
I think we're spot on.
We thought the high bid was appropriate. So it didn't sell, but hopefully they can find another buyer.
Yep.
But thanks for checking out Auction Walk.
That's right. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.
Yep. And tell your gearhead friends.